Thanks, Lindsay. I'll wait like one more minute. Da, 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 da. How is it in North Jersey?
It's warm.
Yeah.
It's like 45 degrees and raining.
Same here.
Hard
Yep.
to believe that we're going to have ice in the morning. I don't believe it.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Maybe not tomorrow morning, but
Yeah, I guess actually the ice is not supposed to start until the afternoon, actually. So.
Yeah. Hello. Thank you for joining. All right. So I think we have, let me check one more time. I think we have 8 people who signed up. So we currently have 7. Okay, so we currently have 3. We have almost half of everybody. I'll wait one more minute. Hopefully no ice storms. I was going to go in, but I'm going to share a video. I'm at home here in Pennsylvania. I'm going to show a video of our building instead, since everything's just dark and wet and rainy. It would not have been good. Hello. Thank you for joining us.
Hi there. I'm guessing you're talking to me. I'm late, so I apologize. I'm in my car, and I thought I'd put you on mute if that's okay. I apologize for being late.
No worries. And who is speaking?
Sure. My name is Cindy Fleischer. I had registered for the event. Yes.
Absolutely. Great. Thank you so much for joining. I am going to be sharing a video for the first part, but I will be narrating it. So hopefully you'll get an audio description.
Okay. I'll have to rely upon you. Thank you.
Great. And yes, we will be recording if that's okay. We are recording right now. So let us know if any issue, and we will put a few people on mute if there is any feedback while others are talking. So in the meantime, if you are not talking, please mute yourself. I'm going to go ahead. So the mysterious person talking right now is Rachel. I am Rachel Heberling, the Executive Director of Frontline Arts, and we are here tonight to discuss our brand new residency opportunity for veterans that we're very excited about, and we are so glad that you're interested. So we're here to answer your questions. And the other staff that I have with us tonight, we have Lindsay, our admin and exhibitions assistant, who is recording the session and doing that tech. We have our content editor, Hugo, who's going to be monitoring the chat and checking if anyone's having audio issues. We also have, to answer your questions, we have Ron Erickson, who is a veteran and the manager of our whole Frontline Paper Veteran program. So he will be able to answer any questions you have about our veteran community. And then we also have Mike, who is our studio manager, and Mike runs everything in the studio. So he schedules everybody to use the equipment. He knows the equipment, and he can answer all of your questions about those specifics and logistics as well. So I'm going to get started with the video. As explained, we have a dark and dreary night, and so I'm glad I was able to put this together. All right, we are going to share a window. Bear with me, tech stuff. Okay. And sorry for a couple of you who've already know our building inside and out. This is for everyone else who has not been to Frontline yet. Okay, so I know it looks like a black screen. So I'm going to share this video of our studio space because we are accepting a variety of applications for this residency. We are accepting completely in-person applications, hybrid applications, or virtual applications. So either way, you just may want to see what our building looks like as far as the equipment we have, the services we have, you know, whether you're working with that remotely or you're going to be in person. Okay, so this is a walk up to our building. You can come to the front door by stairs, or we have an accessible ramp on the side to lead up. And we're in Branchburg, New Jersey, right in central New Jersey. You'll see the studio on your right. And then up the stairs are our office and gallery exhibition areas. Now, unfortunately, that part is only accessible by stairs at the moment, but cross your fingers, we're applying for a grant for a lift. Let's hope we get that. So this is our gallery space. You will see in this part of the video, this was our 10-year anniversary of the Frontline paper exhibition of the program and the 52 Reasons to Love a Vet Fund. So that is a great space if you want to put your work up on the walls, or check anything out, do a little pop-up exhibition between shows. We could totally have anybody use that space. We have a little porch on the side there. And then back down the stairs, the office areas are also up there on the above this. Back down the stairs, so this is where the main entrance is, where we just came in. And this leads into the main studio space. So we have 2 Charles brand etching presses that you can use for all kinds of printmaking techniques. We have a letterpress in the corner with our Vandercooks and wood type. And then down one more flight of stairs, which we also have an outside door to. This is our basement level with our darkroom. So we have exposure units for screen printing and for photo plate making, screen printing inks in a dry box for paper making. And then leading into our main studio, this is where we do all of our screen printing and paper making, our AccuGlide vacuum table press, our drying racks and flat files. And then this is our wet room where all the magic happens with pulp. So that's our 2-pound David Rain beater that we do all of our paper making in, our backlit washout booth for screen printing, and our hydraulic press to press the water out of the sheets of paper. So just a really quick walkthrough for anyone who has not yet seen the space and wanted to get an idea. So now I am going to start to present the application, and I will open this up for questions once I go through the application. If you have anything urgent, you can put it in the chat, but if everybody could hold on until we go through this application form. And if anybody has to jump out at any time or didn't get to see the visual part so far, as said, we are going to post this recording. All right, so the application, you will find it in several emails we've sent out, or if you go to programs on the top or right side, however your computer is oriented, you will see the Veteran Residency Fund under that menu. Sorry, I got to X that out. Okay. So here's a description of the fund. It was donated to us this past year from Ella Rue, and it had previously also been used for medical expenses through the Hunterdon Health Foundation. We are dedicating it to use only for veterans, but it will be for opportunities in arts and arts education and any work with our Frontline paper program. So the application is due by February 15th, just under 2 weeks, and we're going to announce awardees at the beginning of March. It can be completed anytime between May 1st and the end of the year, as said, in-person, hybrid, or remote. And we also have the opportunity to recommend you for an additional separate residency up at Monson Arts in Maine. I will explain that when we get to that part of the application. So if you keep scrolling down, you can apply for the residency and get to the form by clicking there. This is a summary of the dates, or you can click on this big button. So I'm going to go over to our admin view of the form so that you can see all the different sections, and I will just go through that part of it. Just making sure everybody can still see my screen. Okay, cool. All right. So this kind of explains everything we just saw on the first page, and you can also direct any questions to me if you have any issues with the application. So we have your basic contact information, prefix pronouns, name, number, address, asking if you are veteran, active duty, or reserve, which is all eligible. If you are not a veteran or active duty, this is not an opportunity for you. We also ask about your service branch and rank, your MOS code, and then your type of proposal. So we would like you to select if you are looking for the completely in-person, if you're looking to travel, if you're looking at hybrid, or if you're looking at totally virtual. So just check one of those buttons. Then we would like to know what you are interested in under that umbrella. So are you looking to mostly take classes with free tuition? Are you totally self-sufficient in print and paper making and want to come to our facilities and you just want to use it on your own? Do you want assistance, like you're learning the techniques alongside us, or do you want us to do services for you? Because we also do professional print editioning and paper making, and we could completely make you a number of prints or a batch of paper for whatever you'd like to use it for. So here's the most complicated part, which I am assuming most of the questions are going to be about. We have the budget options. So to try to clarify some of that, the award amount can be up to $4,000. That is the maximum. And we're saying it's a range because, like most grantors, we are going to see what applications come to us. And, you know, if we have, because you can ask for less money. So, you know, if we have someone asking for $1,000 and they want to do something remotely, somebody else wants to do $3,000 in person, we could conceivably have two residents. So we could split it in two, or we could just have one applicant for the full $4,000. It just depends the range of proposals we get. So I know this type is kind of tiny, but hopefully you can see it, and I will be reading it. Mike helped us write up these options. We have it sectioned into an in-person or local to Frontline Arts out here in New Jersey. If you would like to focus on printmaking as a residency with partial assistance, or paper making with partial assistance. And this is just for you to get some ideas of what things cost at Frontline Arts. For example, the 24-hour access key holder membership is $850. We have some storage fees in here, and we have what, 24 hours of one-on-one technical assistance might cost. So you can just get an idea of what that is, and then you can kind of make your own proposal and numbers from that. We have other, self-directed opportunity down at the $2,000 level where you are mostly using it on materials and the key holder. Or we have variations where you get full assistance, focusing on one area or an introduction to a little bit of everything. We have another section for ideas for out of state. So if that is the case, you will probably want to use the funds for a flight, I would assume, round trip, and then also a hotel or Airbnb, depending on how many days you plan on staying. Now, to clarify, unfortunately, if you saw in the video, there's no official sleeping quarters in our building. So you would have to book a hotel or Airbnb in the area. A lot of them right now seem to be around $100 to $150 a night. There are some really swank hotels that are like $300, but that's probably not necessary. So just do some research, see what that might cost. You can ask us for any opinions or suggestions, and then the rest that can be used on tech assistance or equipment. And then we have ideas for the complete virtual options, what it might cost to ship you materials, what the online tech assistance would be, and what those materials themselves might cost, or whatever is left over for that. If you have other direct, equipment or materials or needs that would allow you to complete this residency, you can write that in. So this section is just ideas. Then we have a series of radio buttons listing all of those different ideas again. And if you would just select the one that makes the most sense or is more closely what you think you will be doing. We also have an other one. So again, these are suggestions and ideas, just so you know some basic costs, but you can type in a combination or, a variance on any of those ideas that you will be able to detail out. The next question is the goals and timeline. And if you would like to engage with the community at all during your time, do a little talk or demonstration or pop-up show. As said, this can be any time between May and December, as long as it works out budget-wise, and we would be scheduling you in. And then what is the overall cost that you're asking for? Up to $4,000. Then we would like you to upload a budget. So we know not everybody is a spreadsheet whiz. So however you would like to convey that to us, if it's typed up in a Word doc or a spreadsheet or a PDF, whatever works for you, just please do different, different lines for exactly how these expenses would add up for the type of residency you are applying for. So, do your research on the flights, materials you'd like to use, add up our costs with key holders and assistants and all of that. Then it's sort of like a abbreviated resume. Anything you'd like to share with, previous exhibitions or honors or awards or accomplishments of note. Any community service or ways that you'd give back. And why you are applying for the residency and how it will benefit you and or the community you propose working with if you'd like to do something interactive. Then we ask for 10 images of your work that has something to do with what you are proposing. So this can be, past or recent work or sketches of anything that you are envisioning of what you'd like to do. And a check for if you are interested in being recommended for this separate residency at Monson Arts in Maine. So this is another beautiful facility way up in Maine, and they are taking residents for slots in April and May. And they would like us to recommend one of the applicants who checks this box. So what's interesting about that is it may not be the same person that we select for our residency with Frontline Arts. So whoever makes the most compelling application, we will pass that on. It is for 4 weeks. In that time period, you get food, housing provided, and everything, plus $1,000 stipend. And 2 residents are staying in a house together. And they have a wood shop and metal studio, so not the same paper or print facilities that we have. And of course, there's a lot of great outdoor activities. If you have any questions about that in the meantime, you are welcome to contact their director. Lastly, not quite lastly, sorry, next section is financial information, a summary of your current and most recent experience, or if you are currently unemployed due to COVID or disability status or childcare, just tell us a little bit about where you're at and how you are writing your case for need with the residency, number of people in household, and then, what you consider your needs being met at this point financially. So we're not asking for exact details, but just basically, do you have more than enough or just enough or not enough for your needs at home? You can prefer not to answer or other. And then do you have other special circumstances that you would like to elaborate on in relationship to your financial needs, as mentioned earlier with medical bills, loss of income, childcare, etc. So, if you have any expenses, this is a place to explain that and elaborate on the compelling case for your residency application. Additional info, pretty simple if you've ever taken a workshop with us before and what that was. And then do you have any other accommodations or needs that would assist you in completing the residency? We would make sure to work that out so you have the best experience, assistive listening, mobility restrictions, and of course, keeping in mind, as mentioned, that the main floor is currently accessible right now, but we can bring a lot of equipment up to wherever you need. Recommendations are optional. If you have anybody that would help make your case with the residency that you would like to put us in touch with, we understand not everybody can grab a reference in time as this is coming up pretty soon, but if you think it would help your application, please put a reference in here. And then at the bottom, the demographics. This section is also completely optional. Again, we just always want to make sure that we are collecting data. We have to report to grantors a lot. We'd like to know who we are reaching with this opportunity and how we can continue to expand our audience. So pretty standard questions about age, race, gender, disability, education. And finally, just sign and date that everything is filled out as accurately as possible to your knowledge. Okay, so that is the form. I know it's a bit of a long one. The most complicated parts, again, are the budget sections and type of residency that you would like to complete. And we assume you probably have questions about that. So I have stopped sharing my screen, and I would like to open up the floor to any questions about the residency to any of us. Yes, Yvette. Oh, we'll have to
Sorry, I thought I unmuted.
That's okay.
There's no, what is the time, like how long is the residency? Do we request a specific amount of time, or is there a dedicated amount of time? I would be coming from out of state, so.
Absolutely, yes. So I feel like it has to do with finances and how that works out budget-wise with what you're able to afford with, staying in the area and travel. Our key holder residency honestly gives you 24-hour access to our facilities. They're not always available 24 hours a day, as we have classes here and there and other people using the studio. But in the past, when we've had residencies, a lot of times it was for about 2 to 4 weeks. So I think that's a pretty reasonable amount of time. You could certainly do something in 1 week, depending on what the project is. We're honestly open to all of it as long as it is scheduled well in advance so that we can block out our calendar and accommodate you being in our studios.
Okay, and I have one follow-up question, if that's okay. If we wanted to come in addition, one piece, and the focus would be on printmaking, so I would have access to the press. That's my biggest thing, is I don't have access to a press right now. Would there still be an opportunity to make some paper? Yes. Because it's a combo project of what I'm hoping to do. I want to addition a print, but then make paper for additional research. I see nods of yes, so that
everybody is in agreement. Yes. So, and that is an option. So if you look at all the different budget options, we have listed out for the in-person, and sorry if that might be more apparent in the local to Frontline section. It applies to traveling to Frontline as well. You can do a combo print and paper making. I personally think that would be, the coolest, using the opportunity to the max. And, think about time with that too. I mean, honestly, we could help prepare the pulp in advance of your arrival, right? You could send us fabric. We can ship things back and forth. If you have to have a condensed timeline, we will work with you to make sure that that's reasonable and is able to happen. But
And is there excuse me, I'm sorry. Is there a budget for like if I were to send fabric ahead of time to have it pulped? Is that listed in the,
I
do we need how do I budget for that?
Absolutely. No, great question. Mike, I feel like we have, if it's an entire batch of paper, I feel like we have charged what, like $200 to $300?
Yeah.
Somewhere in that range?
Pretty much if the beater's down for a day, depending on who's making it and how long it specifically takes, it'd be about $200 to $300. Because we also have to put it in a bucket if we're shipping pulp or anything like that. But obviously you would be coming to get the pulp. So I would factor in, I would say just high end it, shipping back and forth with the pulp, say $300 to make it in advance. Right. And anybody hop in and correct me if they think that's off.
Yeah, absolutely. And you could include your shipping to us, obviously, in that cost, depending on what you're sending. It would also save time and money if you prepared the fabric in advance, meaning cut out all the seams into little 1-inch squares, is all that needs to be done. And we can take care of the rest if that helps you get the opportunity that you want. We understand if you want to experience that as well, but something else that I wanted to talk about is we would hope that if anyone comes in person, they would also be able to witness one of our weekly Sunday workshops. So that's when we have our veteran group in the building every single Sunday from 12 to 4 p.m. And they are making paper, cutting rag, making artwork during that time. And our studio paper maker, Walt Nygaard, is also making batches of paper almost every single Thursday. So if you came during the span of a week, you would probably witness at least one of those things as well in person. Ron, I didn't know if you wanted to jump in and kind of describe the Sunday community for those on here who may not be familiar. Oh, you're muted. Sorry.
Once I figure out how to unmute. Yeah, hi. I'm Ron Erickson, and yeah, our Sunday workshop. We do everything that Rachel just said. We make we cut rag, and we've been doing a lot of rag cutting, and we call it rag cutting. Deconstructing the uniform and taking it apart. We only call it rag cutting because it's rag paper making. We don't consider our uniforms rags. But we've been doing a lot of rag cutting lately. We've made a couple batches of pulp in the last couple of weeks. One of our new veterans showed up the first day with a uniform, and he cut that uniform that day. The next week we pulped it, and the week after he pulled sheets. It is something that again, his wife has actually been coming because we allow family members to come, and she actually made pulp from her Salvation Army uniform that she had from when she was a kid, and then we make art, and we're not all artists. In fact, the young man who pulped his uniform and then made paper had never made really art before in his life, and a bunch of all the people in the workshop, helped him realize his image. And last weekend, he brought in a little 4x6 piece of lino, cut it, and printed it in the same day. And it was really awesome. And, we guide as much as you need. All I basically said is you scoop out the ink here. Okay, we're going to add a little bit of oil to it. And you're going to put it on the block like this. And he did everything. And he came out with 3 beautiful prints. So you don't even, that's one of the things that I like to say to people is, you don't have to know anything. Obviously, people applying for residencies, you probably know a lot more maybe than I do. But yeah, it's a wonderful experience, and I hope if you guys do come, that you'll be able to come on a Sunday and join us. Yeah.
Yeah, and we also, Ron, you've still been live streaming the Sundays as well, correct?
We were. We didn't live stream last week, but we have that option. Yes. Yeah. I do try to bring it up every Sunday. I forget. Well, last Sunday it was just because I was really the only one there for a long time until Karsten and Bethany showed up. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool. So yeah, that's an option for anybody if they're looking more at the hybrid or virtual residency. We hope you could tune into our Sunday community online if you're not able to physically make it there. Something else I wanted to bring up as well is if anybody has any concerns about our taxes with this money, as this would be income that you are receiving, we can work some of that out as well, because especially if you are applying for, if a lot of your expenses are the key holder or the technical assistance or whatever, or even materials that, we have already at our studio, we would just, credit that money to you for your residency. So you wouldn't have to worry about, dealing with that direct money or income. So you would be getting the funds that you would need to be able to use, personally for your own personal supplies and, booking a flight, et cetera, et cetera. We would transfer the requested funds for that, if that makes sense. But we would be able to obviously work with you on that once accepted to make sure what the best situation is for everybody in that scenario. So I hope that's helpful. Is anybody in here thinking about a hybrid or virtual option, or anybody else traveling or thinking about coming in person, and questions about the different ways that would pan out?
I think I had a question. So if we're applying for like the self-directed one, the $2,000 one, can we use some of the other funds then for like the housing or accommodation in the area?
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm. So yeah, as I know, it's the most confusing part of the application, but those are really just like example budgets, but you can pull from all of them and combine into what makes sense for you up to $4,000. So yeah, you could absolutely take some of that, use it for housing, and then use the rest for, key holder and materials. So we just wanted to try to give you an idea of what some of the costs are on our end as Frontline Arts.
And as far as doing the community demos, it's fine that if we're presenting information that you guys, probably already do yourselves every week. Like if I'm doing a paper making demo, I lived in Japan for a couple of years and learned paper making there, but it might be different than using the uniforms to make paper.
Oh, absolutely. If you were to do a demo on Japanese paper making, that would be incredible. Do you have that equipment?
I do now because I'm currently in grad school, so I have access. I don't personally own like a Naginata beater or any of the paper making equipment myself.
Okay. That would be great. Yeah, if you would want to do a talk on that or a demonstration in any way, or even if you wanted to do it virtually, from a location where you have that equipment, we could do a live stream like this. We're not absolutely requiring it, but we always think that it's really cool if we have a residency a resident, and they do some kind of public interaction or, exhibition or way to show, what they've done during their time with us and teach everybody something new. So yeah, that would be great. And just to clarify, we do have just Western paper making equipment. If anyone had that question, maybe someday we'll get a Sugetta or something else, or Ron will figure out how to make one. But yes.
Well, that was. I'm in the process of trying to get a grant for this summer. I want to ask because the dates are flexible because I'm trying to build a Japanese tub for making Japanese paper at the university I'm at. But I'm not sure what those dates would be to be able to apply for that grant, to do that for the school, and then to try and get a residency or two in the summer after that.
Yeah, absolutely. If you put in your we have another person. If you would put in a guesstimate as to when you think it might happen, we're not going to lock it in stone from your application, but after you are accepted, we would certainly like to get a closer idea. Mike, what do you think? It kind of depends on how much time they're spending in the studio. If it's more than 2 weeks straight, etc. How much advance notice do you think would be ideal in order for us to schedule them?
I would say probably at least 2 weeks. It depends because we have waves. Our schedule goes in waves, and depending on the month, we're either really busy or things slow down a little bit. At least a month would be like awesome, I would say. But I would say 2 weeks would probably be the least amount of notice that we would need.
Yeah, great. Yeah, so as long as we have 2 weeks to a month notice, we can schedule it and make it work. And but obviously it would have to be scheduled and completed before the end of 2022, at the end of December. That's the only requirement. Cool. All right, I see we have some other people who have joined. Hi, everybody. We just went through a video tour and the whole application process, and now we're getting into other specific questions that anybody has. Does anybody have any other questions about the specific equipment that we have?
I guess I had a question. You said special equipment. Do you guys print oversized, or is the screen printing equipment you have just standard size?
Great question. Mike, do you want to handle that?
Sure. Our AccuGlide pretty much handles a max. Well, our exposure unit handles a max of 30 by 40 frames outside. We have an Amerigraph 150. And the AccuGlide comfortably prints those size frames with a 22 by 30 sheet of paper. So it prints full size, but not oversized. You can go a little bigger, but it's not a very comfortable situation. So you can try, but 22 by 30 with 30 by 40 screens is the happy medium for our screen printing setup, I would say.
Yeah, I think it's also because of the size of our building. If you could tell, we're kind of like compacted 2-level studio basically, and same for our etching presses. I think 22 by 30, the full size standard printmaking paper size is pretty much the max for a lot of our equipment. The larger etching press does go up to is it
36
by 60?
It's a 36 by 60 bed.
36 by 60, yes. Thank you. I knew I was missing a number. So you can print some oversized printmaking paper on that press, and our drying racks will handle it. But everything else is smaller. Thinking of we also have a sorbet.
Tara did a 24 by 30 on a 30 by 40 paper.
Okay. Yeah. And that was a linoleum cut, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good success.
Yeah, and Ron has engineered some large sheets of handmade paper as well. I don't know if you want me to offer that in here, but
No, absolutely. We do have a 30 by 40 mold and decal, and the issue with that is making enough pulp for it. It requires a lot of pulp to, if you know about paper making and how you have to achieve a level of pulp in the slurry in order to pull a sheet. So while I was able to do some of that in my driveway during the pandemic, we've not yet pulled sheets at the studio. We're hoping once it warms up, we will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and speaking of that, we do also have a bunch of outdoor equipment since we do mobile workshops all over the country. We have our own parking lot. I realized I didn't answer that. It's free parking right there at the building. And there's also an NJ Transit train that goes into Newark and New York from our back parking lot, although it has a bit of a limited schedule. But yeah, we can make paper outside. We've got tents, we've got tables, we've got vats, we've got carts. That's always fun when the weather gets a bit nicer. But yeah, our standard paper making molds and decals that we already have, they range from 5 by 7 and like 5.5 by 8 to 8 by 10, 11 by 14, 15 by 15, 10 by 20, 16 by 20. I think I've got them all. And then the oversized that we're still experimenting with. So yeah, that's pretty standard what we have for our Western molds and decals. And yeah, upstairs we have the Vandercook Universal 1 for letterpress. We have a wide variety of metal type and wood type. What is the Vandy size again, Mike? I think it's 13 wide by what, like 20 something? It's sort of like a broad size.
I want to say 13 by 22, but don't quote me on that. It comfortably prints a sheet of 13 by 19 French paper.
Yes.
That's like a techie mean. I'm going to have to Google this. I'll report back in a second.
That's okay. And we do have, if anybody is like, oh my gosh, how do I memorize all this? We do have a page on our website. If you go to the printmaking studio menu, there's a facilities page, and you can look up a whole list of a lot of the equipment sizes we have. There's only one thing I keep forgetting, we still have to update. We have an Epson P6000 now instead of the 7900. So we also have a large format, 24-inch wide archival inkjet printer, which is another cool thing to have. Yes, Mike?
The Vandercook is 13 by 22.
Okay, great. Good memory. Mike's the press guy. He has all the formats memorized.
I guess I have one more question. Since you have a printer, we can do transparencies and just do everything in-house for...
Yes. Yes.
Yep. Up to 24-inch wide transparencies on the Epson by infinity, I guess. Whatever the rules come in.
Yeah. We use, what do we have? We have like Babs and Pictorico films that we usually do the output on. It is a bit expensive. So maybe, gosh, what is it these days, Mike? It's like $1 something a linear inch. So like if you can go up to 24 inches wide and then take it $1 times the other dimension that's coming out of the printer is kind of like a good general estimate of what the transparencies cost.
And we also have a smaller Canon printer that we use to print up to 13 by 19 transparencies. And to do a whole transparency of that is $10. So sometimes if you're doing smaller stuff, it's a lot easier and cheaper to go that route. But if you're doing big stuff, then we break out the Epson.
Yep. Because those inks are so expensive. Those who know, you know. So yeah, it's great because we pretty much can do everything in-house. So Stephen, are you thinking about screen printing and paper making focus?
Yeah, generally that's what I like to work with, or relief if I don't have access to screen printing.
That's great.
But I was going to say there's actually, for anyone that does printmaking at home, a press called a Slama press. It's from Czech Republic. It's kind of like a traditional Japanese baron, except it's made out of stainless steel, and you can add weights to it. It's a little weird because you have to buy it via bank transfer because Czech Republic's not the EU and they don't pay VAT. But it's probably one of the best ways to just generically print at your house. And I bought one and been using it for the past couple years since the pandemic. It's convenient. It says it does lithography and mesotints also, but I haven't actually tried it out because I just haven't been doing any lithography recently. But it might actually be a kind of interesting piece of equipment to look into because it's affordable and pretty dynamic in what you can do with it.
Yeah, that's great. How do you spell that?
SLAMA.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I know a lot of people have used the Akua pin press, which is like just a metal roll with bearings, or there's a glass baron. What is that? That's like the Froggy Baron or something, frog press. So I've seen the glass barons as well, but this sounds like the weightier the better. I'm always nervous about, really techniques that need really high pressure like litho and mesotint. I don't know, but
yeah, there's a small hand baron that you can add weights to. I want to say it's like $200-ish, and that's good for relief and things. And then there's a larger diameter baron that has little stainless steel kind of donuts that you put on it. And then you can just up the weight based on what technique you're doing and how much pressure you need. I bought them both because I didn't want to have to wait around, but I've only used the large one to do some, I don't know, 6 by 4 foot wood blocks, and it was printing like really good black right off the first pull because the pressure was good enough. So
yeah,
doing things in your driveway, it's very usable.
that's super cool. Yeah, I'd like to see that. Definitely. I'm sure it works a lot better than a wooden spoon.
Yeah, that's actually I bought it because I hate printing with a spoon.
It's all sweat, blood, and tears and muscle. That's cool.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see if you could hand print on combat paper. Tara had some success hand printing, but really difficult because it's so textured.
I think if you're looking for specific results, I think we've learned that calendaring the paper is really the best option, especially if you're screen printing. I've done a couple projects, and I've got another project coming up where I'm screen printing like 8-point font or something on handmade paper. And Walt did a really good job of making nice sheets, but it still needs to be calendared because it's handmade.
Yeah, and what we do for that is we just put it between 2 pieces of plexiglass, and we run our handmade paper, however many fit at a time, side by side through the etching press, and it's amazing. It turns it from like super kind of thick, fluffy, textured paper down to like as smooth as Bristol, or Arches 88. And so it's a very different surface. It works a lot better if you need something with super crisp, fine detail, and certainly improves hand printing as well. I've always had a really hard time printing by hand on any paper that's thick or textured. That's why newsprint always just prints so well, doesn't it? But yes, we also have, I don't think I mentioned, we also have etching. So we have the facilities to do copper plates. We have ferric chloride in a vertical tank. We have a chemical called saline sulfate for zinc. We have all kinds of plexi for monotypes and all the Akua inks. And
big hot plate.
You have a hot plate.
Aquatint spray booth.
Yep, a spray booth with an airbrush. We try to keep things less toxic. So we kind of kicked out our rosin box and our spray paint some years ago. But yeah, we have a lot of cool formulations for that and alternatives. We use the big ground from Wales, from Andrew Baldwin. But we still have some of the toxic stuff left if anybody really wants it. We do not have litho. That is the one thing. You will not see that listed, as we currently do not have a litho press, but there are other techniques. We just had one of our key holders teach mokulito in the fall, which is the wood litho. It's a really cool, fun technique. So we could probably get, if anyone's interested, maybe some tips for that. But I feel like all the alternative lithography techniques that are not, on a stone or aluminum plate, they're a lot easier to print by hand or on the etching press. The paper litho, the pronto plates, the mokulito, those seem to work. So you could do that on our etching press if some type of litho was your preference. But yes, I know we're talking a whole lot of tech, which I'm sorry, that's my favorite topic. So if I'm derailing this conversation at all, we're also open to people that don't know anything about any of these techniques, and they want to do it for the first time. So you would select more of the technical assistance or lesson or contract, printing version where we do work for you. So, we'd be happy to answer questions. If you have a project in mind, if you're like, gee, I want, so much paper this size made out of this and printed with this technique, please email us. Please ask us in advance, and we can help you get a better idea of what that might cost before you put the application in. So you're not just kind of in the dark about it, because it is impossible to list like what absolutely every single thing costs. And, every project is unique and different. So we will certainly help you out in figuring out those prices. I see a lot of head nods. If anyone else wants to talk about, has questions about that, if you have a project in mind right now and you want to like, hey, can I do this? Please go ahead. Go ahead and ask. Or not. Otherwise, I'll wrap this up in 6 minutes at 7:30, so that we're not taking more than an hour of everyone's time tonight. All right. Any other final questions? We're really looking forward to your applications. We have not had a resident artist since, I think, 2017 or 18. I've been with the organization since 2014, and I just want to say it's one of my favorite things. I love having someone in the studio or someone that we're working with. It really brings a lot of excitement to just to have a project going on, and you get to meet everyone that we work with, and we get to help you make your work, and it just brings really good energy to Frontline Arts, and I'm really looking forward to this. Obviously, a lot of things were paused during the pandemic, and I know we're still not totally in the clear, but that's why, also due to distance or anyone's restrictions, that's why we're offering the hybrid and virtual options, because we want to make sure that it works. And yeah, but we're very, very clean, very safe. I suppose I should elaborate on that a little bit as well. We were lucky enough to get one of the emergency state grants this past year. And so Mike helped us install really high tech HEPA air purifiers on every single floor. And we run them whenever people are in the building. We have a temperature check when you walk in. It talks at you. It's a little annoying. You turn it around after we come in. And we have UV lights. We blast those off once a week, and we have all the disinfectants. So we're continuing to do that, and we have everybody wear a mask. That's our only mandate that we never, got rid of, because that's been working well. So yes,
I should specify that if you're in the building by yourself, we don't require you to wear a mask.
Okay. Yes. Good point. Yes. And we all do that. As soon as everybody else leaves, we all whip the mask off. Like, so yes, you can breathe freely solo in the building, or if you're on a completely separate floor, like way far away from everybody. Absolutely. So we put safety first, and so we're happy to answer any questions or concerns about that as well. But we've had really good luck with that in our building. Cool. All right. Well, applications are due February 15th at midnight, and we really look forward to seeing what you all propose. As said, in the application online, please, you can email me, Rachel@frontlinearts.org, with any questions. And if you have any specific asks about equipment or prices, I'll send you to Mike. Anything about the veteran community, I'll send you to Ron. And we really look forward to having you. All right.
Thank you.
If that is all, I will bid you adieu. I appreciate your time tonight. Everybody take care.